Let's talk to Holly Whitbread, Conservative councillor for Epping West and rural Essex, of course, because we know that over there the Bell Hotel is still operating as a migrant hotel. The council have already asked the Home Office to decommission it and to close it down and no longer house migrants in it. But so far, I think they haven't really had much luck. So let's find out what the latest is. Holly, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good.
So we still haven't heard from the government, pretty much being completely ignored. So we now as a council have taken action against hotel owners via the High Court, via an interim injunction.
OK, so what does the injunction call for?
So the injunction calls for the closure of the Bell Hotel until a planning application goes in to be determined by the district council. Obviously, there's a significant change of use.
Right.
This is no longer a functional hotel. And what we're arguing via the interim injunction is it is a big change of use and a new application has to go in. We took legal advice previously and it was looking like we weren't able to do this, but we've taken different advice and we believe our case is strong and we'll be doing everything within our power to try and push it through. But obviously, it's now up to the courts.
Yes, it's a very good manoeuvre because I've seen, I've spoken to a couple of other local authorities around Britain and they've also come to the same conclusion that when you do change a hotel into what is effectively a multiple occupancy building, it's no longer a hotel, is it?
No, absolutely. And obviously we had the Bell Hotel open previously. It was reopened by the Labour government earlier this year for all males. But just before it was closed by the last government, an application had actually gone in for change of use, which never had to happen because the government cancelled the contract and thankfully the hotel was closed.
Right.
But this is something we've been investigating and working on in the background for quite some time. And we wish we could have brought it forward sooner, but obviously these legal discussions do take time.
Sure.
So hopefully the court will decide in our favour.
Yeah, that'd be good. And it's a long process, isn't it? When do you hope that you might get a hearing from a court?
Because it's an interim injunction, hopefully it'll be quicker than usual. I don't have an exact date, but we are hopeful it will be kind of weeks rather than months and months.
Right, OK. Oh, well, that's good. And in terms of the way that the local community is kind of coming together, we've seen many protests and we've seen an awful lot of very peaceful protests there. And the protests presumably will continue until such time as you get what you want.
I believe so. I mean, largely the protests have now been peaceful. At the beginning, they were hijacked by particularly groups on the left who caused a lot of trouble originally, but also groups on the right as well. But they seem to be much more locally led, peaceful protests, which is good. But similarly, the council will continue to push through democratic and diplomatic means to do all we can to put pressure on the government to close the hotel. You know, we're not going away. We want to be listened to, and certainly as a local councillor, I'm not going to let this one go. No.
And if they do close the hotel and you do win your case, which I hope you do, where will the migrants then go? Because the Home Office presumably, I mean, I've spoken to a couple of councillors who have said that Serco, for example, the people who are charged with housing many of these people in hotels can be quite difficult to deal with, and they'll sometimes go, all right, well, if you're going to do that, we'll just go and get another hotel and we'll go and put them in there.
Yeah, well, Epping Forest has actually already got 2 hotels within the district, so we've argued quite strongly that we've got more than our fair share, and we're having to pay the burden for this illegal immigration crisis. So it may be that the government move them elsewhere, and I'd be sorry for whatever community they move to. And obviously, the government need to come up with a more efficient and effective solution to dealing with this crisis and really get a grip. But ultimately, as a council, it's our duty to stand up for our community. The hotel is completely untenable. You know, there's undocumented males within that hotel. People in our community feel unsafe. Not to mention the disruption that has been caused by the action that people are quite rightly taking to try and get the hotel closed down. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we wish you well, Holly, with it. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Holly Whitbread, Conservative councillor for Epping West and rural Essex, because they are finally taking the bull by the horns, like a lot of people are starting to think about doing around the country, where if the Home Office doesn't want to play ball, you just take them to court and you say, look, perfectly within the law, you say this hotel is no longer a hotel. It's had its change of use and it hasn't really been approved for that by the local council and by local planning authorities, and so therefore it can't operate as a hotel anymore, and you shut it down. And that may well be the way forward. However, the question then is where do you put the people who are in it? Do you put them into another hotel? Do you put them into housing somewhere? How does it work? It's going to be a fascinating tussle, that one. We'll keep our eyes on it. It's coming up to 9:34. This from Neil, who says, a police commissioner encourages the public to tackle shoplifters, yet the young men who tackle the vile creature who exposed himself on a train are being threatened with arrest. Exactly right. Stephanie says, I love your show, but it makes me so angry. I have to tell my husband every morning, who drives in London for a living, it's not the migrants' fault, it's the government, because he's super angry and I worry he might react. Well, so many people are. That's the trouble. If Starmer wanted to create migrant camps but can't because of his own MPs, then he should send the migrants to the constituencies of those MPs who would vote against it and see how quickly they change their minds, says Vicky. And David, who's from Newcastle, says, I missed the first part of your show this morning, so you may have already called out Starmer's lie of the day. I'm a retired police officer and I joined my first neighbourhood team in 1996. How can he get away with such blatant lies? I know. It's a question I ask myself every single day.